Good evening, and welcome to this quiet reflection on one of the most graceful technological transitions in gaming history. I'm speaking to you from the year 2035, looking back with the gentle perspective that only completed history can provide. Tonight, we'll explore the remarkable decade from 2025 to 2035, when humanity said a gradual, respectful farewell to physical gaming controllers while embracing something entirely new. This is not a story of abrupt endings or technological violence. Rather, it's the tale of how an interface that had served us faithfully for over 4 decades reached its natural evolutionary conclusion, much like how the horse-drawn carriage gracefully yielded to the automobile, even as digital music transformed how most of us listen to songs. If you enjoy this type of content, a like or a subscription is always appreciated. It helps our small corner of the internet grow. I invite you to share your own thoughts in the comments below. Now sit back, get cozy, and enjoy the sleep story. The year 2025 marked what historians now call the golden twilight period of physical controllers. Paradoxically, it was precisely when their eventual replacement became inevitable that these tactile interfaces achieved their greatest sophistication. The major gaming companies, sensing the approaching transition to neural and biofeedback interfaces, invested unprecedented resources in creating what they knew would be the final generation of physical gaming devices. These weren't desperate last gasps, but rather loving farewell letters written in plastic, silicon, and carefully calibrated springs. The controllers released between 2025 and 2027 represented the pinnacle of 4 decades of iterative design, incorporating haptic feedback so nuanced that players could feel the difference between raindrops and snowflakes in virtual environments, pressure-sensitive inputs that responded to the lightest brush of a fingertip, and ergonomic refinements that seemed to mold themselves to each individual user's hands. The craftsmanship of this period was extraordinary. Companies like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo collaborated with luxury watchmakers and automotive designers to create controllers that were as much art objects as gaming tools. Limited edition controllers from this era now rest in climate-controlled museum cases, their buttons never to be pressed again, their analog sticks frozen in perfect center positions for eternity. But even as these magnificent devices were being crafted, the seeds of the transition were already sprouting. The early neural interface experiments that had been quietly conducted in research labs since 2020 were beginning to show remarkable promise. Players testing prototype neural controllers reported not just faster response times, but an entirely different relationship with virtual worlds, one where the boundary between thought and action seemed to dissolve entirely. The accessibility community, long underserved by traditional gaming interfaces, began to see unprecedented possibilities. Individuals with limited motor function found that neural interfaces could grant them access to gaming experiences that had been functionally impossible with physical controllers. This wasn't just technological advancement, it was technological justice, opening doors that had been closed for decades. Yet the transition wasn't immediate or jarring. The gaming industry, perhaps learning from the disruptive rollouts of previous technological shifts, chose a path of gradual integration. New gaming systems began shipping with both physical controllers and basic neural interface capability, allowing players to choose their preferred input method or even combine both approaches within the same gaming session. This period of coexistence created fascinating cultural dynamics. Families found themselves divided not by age alone, but by input preference. Grandparents who had learned to game with traditional controllers often remained loyal to the tactile experience, while younger players eagerly adopted neural interfaces. Yet there was no animosity in this divide. Rather, it sparked countless conversations about the nature of gaming, the role of physicality in digital experiences, and the ways that different generations approached technological change. The gaming content of this period reflected these philosophical discussions. Developers began creating experiences specifically designed to showcase the unique strengths of each interface type. Racing games might emphasize the subtle steering feedback that physical controllers provided, while puzzle games explored the lightning-fast input possibilities of neural interfaces. Some games even required both types of input, creating cooperative experiences where neural and physical players worked together, each contributing their interface type's particular strengths. As 2025 progressed into 2026, a curious cultural phenomenon emerged: the rise of controller appreciation communities. These groups, initially small gatherings of gaming historians and design enthusiasts, began organizing events celebrating the aesthetic and functional evolution of gaming controllers. What started as modest meetups in game stores evolved into elaborate exhibitions featuring rare prototypes, concept designs, and masterfully crafted custom controllers that pushed the boundaries of what these devices could be. The controller appreciation movement that emerged in 2026 revealed something profound about humanity's relationship with gaming interfaces that few had anticipated. As neural interfaces became increasingly sophisticated and accessible, the gaming community didn't simply abandon physical controllers. Instead, they began to understand them as design objects worthy of serious aesthetic consideration and cultural preservation. Museums dedicated to gaming history found their controller exhibitions drawing unprecedented crowds. The Smithsonian's Touched by Games exhibition, which opened in late 2026, featured over 300 controllers spanning from the earliest Atari joysticks to the final limited edition devices produced by artisan manufacturers. Visitors spent hours examining the subtle evolution of button placement, the gradual refinement of analog stick resistance, and the complex ergonomic solutions that had been developed to accommodate the incredible diversity of human hands. The exhibition's most popular section was the hands-on history area, where visitors could experience carefully preserved examples of controllers from each major generation. Many reported being surprised by how different each device felt, how the weight distribution and button responsiveness of a 1990s controller created an entirely different relationship with games than the ultra-responsive devices of the 2020s. These tactile experiences became meditative exercises in technological appreciation, quiet moments where visitors could feel the accumulated decades of design refinement in their palms. Professional gaming during this period found itself at a fascinating crossroads. Tournament organizers faced the challenge of creating fair competitions that accommodated both neural and physical input methods. The solution that emerged was elegant in its simplicity: separate but equal competition categories, much like how chess tournaments might feature both rapid and classical time controls. Neural interface tournaments showcase the lightning-fast precision that direct thought-to-action control enabled, while physical controller competitions emphasize the practiced muscle memory and fine motor control that traditional gaming had always celebrated. Interestingly, many professional players chose to maintain proficiency in both input methods. They reported that the physical practice kept their spatial reasoning sharp and provided a useful counterpoint to the sometimes overwhelming immediacy of neural control. The act of physically manipulating a controller, with its inherent delays and the need to translate intention through mechanical action, created a different type of mindfulness that many found valuable for overall gaming performance. The manufacturing industry's response to this transition period was remarkably thoughtful. Rather than immediately shuttering physical controller production lines, major manufacturers partnered with luxury goods companies to create premium, artisanal controllers targeted at collectors and enthusiasts. These devices were produced in small batches, with hand-finished details and materials typically reserved for high-end watches or jewelry. A single controller might feature buttons carved from rare woods, analog sticks with precious metal inlays, or custom-molded grips designed specifically for individual purchasers' hands. The production process became as much about craftsmanship as functionality, with master technicians spending days fine-tuning the precise resistance of each button and the exact tension of every spring. These weren't merely gaming tools. They were functional sculptures that happened to interface with digital entertainment systems. The psychological aspects of this transition proved equally fascinating. Research conducted during 2026 and 2027 revealed that many players experienced what psychologists termed tactile nostalgia, a deep emotional connection to the physical sensation of button presses, trigger pulls, and analog stick movements that persisted even as they adapted to neural interfaces. This wasn't simply resistance to change, but rather a genuine appreciation for the multisensory nature of traditional gaming. Neural interface designers began incorporating phantom tactile feedback into their systems, gentle sensations that mimic the feeling of button presses or controller vibration, transmitted directly to users' nervous systems. However, many users reported that these artificial sensations, while technically impressive, lacked the authentic weight and resistance of actual physical interaction. This feedback led to the development of hybrid systems that combine neural speed with selective physical elements for situations where tactile feedback was particularly important. The modding community, always at the forefront of gaming innovation, embraced this transition period with characteristic creativity. Custom controllers began incorporating biometric sensors that could seamlessly switch between physical and neural input modes based on the type of game being played or the user's stress level. Some modifications included neural interface transceivers built directly into traditional controller shells, allowing players to maintain familiar hand positions while accessing thought-based controls. These hybrid devices sparked philosophical discussions about the nature of gaming interfaces and human-machine interaction. If a controller could read your intentions directly from neural signals, was the physical shell still necessary? Many users discovered that the answer was surprisingly complex. The weight and tactile feedback of a physical controller seemed to help focus their thoughts and intentions, creating a more precise neural interface experience than pure thought-based controls alone. The research conducted during the transition period between 2026 and 2018 yielded remarkable insights into how human consciousness interacts with gaming interfaces, findings that would ultimately shape not just gaming technology but our broader understanding of human-machine interaction. Universities around the world established dedicated research programs to study the neurological and psychological effects of different input methods, creating the most comprehensive dataset about gaming cognition ever assembled. Dr. Elena Vasquez at MIT's Interactive Cognition Lab led groundbreaking studies comparing brain activity patterns between physical and neural gaming interfaces. Her research revealed that physical controller use activated not just the motor cortex areas responsible for hand movement, but also regions associated with spatial reasoning, pattern recognition, and even emotional processing. The act of pressing a button or moving an analog stick created a complex cascade of neural activity that extended far beyond simple input commands. In contrast, neural interface gaming showed much more direct activation patterns, with thoughts translating almost instantaneously into game actions. While this created dramatically faster response times and unprecedented precision, it also bypassed many of the cognitive processing steps that physical controllers naturally encouraged. Players using neural interfaces reported that gaming felt more immediate and immersive, but sometimes lacked the contemplative quality that characterized traditional controller-based play. These findings led to the development of cognitive bridge technologies that attempted to preserve the beneficial mental processes of physical gaming while maintaining the speed advantages of neural interfaces. These systems intentionally introduced small delays and processing steps that mimicked the cognitive patterns of traditional gaming, creating what researchers called thoughtful gaming experiences that balanced immediacy with reflection. The accessibility research during this period proved particularly transformative. The Neural Gaming Accessibility Project, a collaboration between major universities and disability advocacy organizations, documented how neural interfaces could provide gaming access to individuals with various physical limitations. Participants who had been unable to use traditional controllers due to limited hand mobility, missing limbs, or neurological conditions found that neural interfaces opened entirely new worlds of gaming experience. However, the research also revealed unexpected complexity and accessibility considerations. Some participants found that their neurological conditions, while limiting physical movement, also affected the clarity of neural signals required for effective neural interface gaming. This led to the development of adaptive neural interface systems that could learn and accommodate different types of neurological patterns, making gaming accessible to an even broader range of individuals. The ergonomic studies conducted during this period established new standards for both physical and neural gaming interfaces. Researchers discovered that even though neural interfaces eliminated the repetitive strain injuries associated with traditional controllers, they introduced new considerations related to mental fatigue and cognitive load. Extended neural gaming sessions required different types of breaks and recovery periods than physical gaming, leading to the development of health monitoring systems integrated into gaming platforms. Physical controller ergonomics, meanwhile, reached unprecedented sophistication as manufacturers invested in what they knew would be their final generation of devices. Advanced 3D scanning technology allowed for custom-fitted controllers that matched individual users' hand geometry with millimeter precision. These personalized devices distributed pressure more evenly, reduced finger fatigue, and created more intuitive button placement for each user's unique finger length and grip patterns. The haptic feedback research of this period pushed the boundaries of what was possible with physical vibration and force feedback. Engineers developed controllers capable of simulating texture, temperature, and even basic material properties through precisely controlled vibration patterns. Players could feel the difference between walking on sand versus concrete, experience the resistance of drawing a bowstring, or sense the subtle feedback of a car's steering wheel hitting a patch of ice. Some of the most sophisticated controllers of this era incorporated what researchers called predictive haptics, systems that analyzed game state information and pre-calculated appropriate feedback sensations, delivering them with timing precision that made virtual interactions feel genuinely tactile. These controllers could simulate the weight of objects being picked up, the resistance of doors being opened, or the vibration patterns of different types of machinery or vehicles. The neural interface research focused heavily on precision and reliability. Early neural gaming systems had struggled with the challenge of distinguishing intentional commands from background mental activity, but advances in machine learning and signal processing created interfaces that could reliably interpret user intentions with remarkable accuracy. The key breakthrough was developing systems that learned each individual user's unique neural patterns rather than relying on universal signal interpretation algorithms. This personalization aspect became central to neural interface design. Each device required an initial calibration period where it learned the user's specific thought patterns, mental habits, and cognitive rhythms. Over time, these systems became so attuned to individual users that they could anticipate commands based on context and previous behavior patterns, creating an almost telepathic gaming experience where the interface seemed to understand player intentions before they were fully formed. The period between 2027 and 2029 revealed fascinating generational and cultural patterns in interface adoption that defied many initial predictions about technological acceptance. Rather than following the typical pattern where younger users immediately embraced new technology while older users resisted change, the controller-to-neural transition created more complex adoption patterns that reflected deeper questions about gaming philosophy and personal identity. Surprisingly, many veteran gamers in their 30s and 40s became enthusiastic early adopters of neural interfaces, particularly those who had experienced repetitive strain injuries from decades of intensive gaming. For this demographic, neural interfaces represented liberation from physical limitations that had begun to restrict their gaming enjoyment. They appreciated the technology's medical benefits and the way it restored their ability to engage in competitive gaming at levels that physical discomfort had made impossible. Conversely, many teenagers and young adults showed strong preferences for physical controllers, viewing them as more authentic gaming tools that required skill and practice to master. This demographic often described neural interfaces as too easy or less satisfying, preferring the challenge and physicality that traditional controllers provided. The muscle memory development, precise timing requirements, and tactile feedback of physical gaming appealed to young players who saw controller mastery as an important part of gaming identity. Cultural variations in adoption patterns proved equally interesting. Japanese gaming communities, with their deep appreciation for craftsmanship and traditional skills, showed strong continued preference for physical controllers, particularly highly refined devices that showcased exceptional manufacturing quality. Japanese manufacturers responded by creating controllers that elevated traditional gaming interfaces to art forms, with attention to detail that rivaled traditional Japanese crafts like sword making or pottery. In contrast, Scandinavian countries showed rapid adoption of neural interfaces, partly due to strong social safety nets that made the economic transition easier for gaming industry workers, and partly due to cultural values that emphasized technological innovation and accessibility. Nordic gaming communities became testing grounds for the most advanced neural interface technologies, providing valuable feedback that improved the technology for global adoption. The professional gaming scene during this period created its own unique cultural dynamics. Tournament organizers developed sophisticated formats that allowed competition between neural and physical interface players, creating some of the most exciting and unpredictable competitive gaming events in history. These mixed-format tournaments required new strategies and highlighted the unique strengths of each interface type. Physical controller players developed techniques that emphasize the precision and consistency that comes from practiced muscle memory, while neural interface players focused on lightning-fast reaction times and complex multitasking that would be impossible with physical controls. The most successful mixed-format players learned to excel with both interface types, switching between them strategically based on game requirements and competitive situations. Educational institutions found themselves navigating these preference patterns as gaming became increasingly integrated into educational curricula. Schools needed to accommodate students who learned better with different interface types, leading to the development of educational games that could seamlessly support both input methods. Some students showed improved focus and comprehension when using physical controllers, while others demonstrated better engagement and faster learning with neural interfaces. The art and design communities embraced this technological diversity as creative opportunity. Game developers began creating experiences specifically designed to showcase the unique capabilities of each interface type. Some games were impossible to play effectively without the tactile feedback and precise timing of physical controllers, while others required the rapid decision-making and multitasking capabilities that only neural interfaces could provide. Museum exhibitions during this period reflected the cultural significance of this transition. The Interface Evolution exhibition that toured major cities in 2028 featured interactive displays where visitors could experience the same game content using controllers from different eras, including the latest neural interfaces. Many visitors reported being amazed by how dramatically interface choice affected their gaming experience and emotional connection to virtual worlds. The collecting community that emerged around rare and artisanal controllers created its own cultural ecosystem. Controller collecting became a serious hobby similar to vintage watch or classic car collecting, with auction houses specializing in gaming memorabilia and authentication services for rare devices. Some limited edition controllers from this period commanded prices comparable to luxury jewelry or fine art pieces. Philosophical discussions about gaming authenticity became common in online communities and academic circles. Some argued that physical controllers maintained essential human elements in gaming: the requirement for practice, the possibility of physical fatigue affecting performance, and the tangible connection between intention and action. Others contended that neural interfaces represented the purest form of gaming interaction, removing artificial barriers between thought and virtual experience. These debates were generally respectful and thoughtful, reflecting a gaming community that had matured beyond simple technological tribalism. Most players acknowledged that both interface types offered valuable experiences and served different purposes within the broader ecosystem of gaming. The coexistence period allowed for extensive experimentation and personal discovery, helping individuals find the interface approaches that best match their preferences and gaming goals. The period from 2028 to 2030 marked a turning point in the transition, as medical applications of neural gaming interfaces began demonstrating benefits that extended far beyond entertainment. What started as a quest for more responsive gaming controls evolved into therapeutic technologies that transformed rehabilitation medicine, cognitive therapy, and assistive technology for individuals with disabilities. Dr. Sarah Chen's groundbreaking work at the Rehabilitation Gaming Institute established neural interfaces as powerful tools for stroke recovery and motor skill rehabilitation. Patients who had lost fine motor control could use neural gaming interfaces to practice precise movements in virtual environments, gradually retraining their neural pathways through engaging, game-based exercises. The gaming context made rehabilitation more enjoyable and motivating than traditional physical therapy, leading to better patient compliance and faster recovery times. The therapeutic applications extended to psychological and cognitive rehabilitation as well. Veterans with PTSD found that neural interface gaming provided safe environments for exposure therapy and stress management training. The precise control over virtual environments allowed therapists to create carefully calibrated experiences that could gradually help patients process trauma and develop coping strategies. The gaming context made these therapeutic interventions feel less clinical and more empowering. For individuals with conditions like ALS, multiple sclerosis, or spinal cord injuries, neural gaming interfaces represented unprecedented independence and quality of life improvements. Players who had been unable to use traditional controllers for years could suddenly access the full spectrum of gaming experiences, competing on equal terms with any other player. The technology restored not just entertainment access, but social connection and competitive achievement that had been lost to physical limitations. The accessibility breakthrough catalyzed broader social acceptance of neural interfaces. As word spread about the life-changing benefits for individuals with disabilities, the technology gained moral weight that transcended gaming preferences. Supporting neural interface development became seen as supporting inclusive design and equal access to digital experiences, shifting the conversation from technological preference to social justice. Traditional controller manufacturers responded to these developments by incorporating accessibility features into their final generation devices. Controllers with modular designs allowed users to customize button layouts, replace difficult-to-use controls with alternative inputs, and adjust sensitivity settings for various motor limitations. Some controllers included basic neural interface capabilities alongside physical controls, creating hybrid devices that could accommodate users with fluctuating abilities. The medical research conducted during this period also revealed unexpected benefits of maintaining physical controller gaming as therapeutic activity. Occupational therapists discovered that traditional gaming could help maintain fine motor skills and hand-eye coordination in aging populations, potentially delaying the onset of conditions like arthritis or tremor disorders. This finding led to the establishment of therapeutic gaming centers where physical controllers were prescribed as medical devices for maintaining motor function. Physical therapy programs began incorporating gaming controllers as tools for rebuilding strength and coordination after injuries. The engaging nature of gaming made patients more willing to perform repetitive exercises, while the precise tracking capabilities of advanced controllers provided therapists with detailed data about patient progress. Some rehabilitation facilities developed custom games specifically designed for different types of recovery needs. The biometric integration capabilities of final-generation controllers enabled health monitoring features that proved valuable for both therapeutic and general wellness applications. Controllers could track heart rate, stress levels, and fatigue indicators, alerting users when they needed breaks or suggesting optimal gaming session lengths. This health-conscious approach to gaming helped address concerns about excessive gaming while maximizing the wellness benefits of interactive entertainment. Neural interface manufacturers invested heavily in safety research during this period, conducting extensive studies on the long-term effects of neural gaming technology. The findings were consistently reassuring. Neural interfaces operated at power levels far below those that could cause biological harm, and long-term users showed no negative neurological effects. In fact, some studies suggested that regular neural interface use might provide cognitive benefits similar to other forms of mental exercise. The development of pediatric neural interfaces required special consideration for developing nervous systems. Researchers worked closely with child development specialists to create age-appropriate neural gaming experiences that could support healthy cognitive development while providing entertainment. These systems included built-in limitations that prevented overstimulation and encouraged balanced gaming habits. The insurance industry's recognition of neural interfaces as medical devices marked a crucial milestone in mainstream acceptance. When major health insurance providers began covering neural gaming interfaces for therapeutic applications, it legitimized the technology in the eyes of healthcare professionals and families. This coverage also made the technology accessible to individuals who couldn't afford the high initial costs of early neural interface systems. Educational applications of therapeutic gaming expanded rapidly during this period. Special education programs found that neural interfaces could help students with various learning disabilities access educational content in new ways. Students with attention difficulties often showed improved focus when using neural interfaces, while students with motor control challenges could participate fully in educational gaming activities for the first time. The success of medical applications created a positive feedback loop that accelerated technological development and social acceptance. As more healthcare professionals recommended neural interfaces and more insurance providers covered them, public perception shifted from viewing them as experimental gaming accessories to recognizing them as legitimate medical and accessibility technologies with broad social benefits. The gaming industry's response to the controller transition between 2029 and 2031 demonstrated remarkable adaptability and foresight, as companies transformed what could have been a disruptive economic upheaval into a managed evolution that preserved jobs while embracing new opportunities. The transition created new markets, transformed existing supply chains, and established entirely new categories of products and services within the gaming ecosystem. Major controller manufacturers like Logitech, Razer, and SCUF faced the challenge of transitioning their operations from mass-market physical devices to more specialized, premium products. Rather than simply shuttering production lines, these companies leveraged their expertise in precision manufacturing and ergonomic design to create luxury gaming peripherals that commanded significantly higher prices than traditional controllers. A single artisanal controller might sell for the price of 10 traditional devices, maintaining revenue while serving a smaller but more dedicated customer base. The supply chain transformation proved particularly interesting. Factories that had previously mass-produced plastic controller shells retooled to manufacture the precision components required for neural interface systems. Workers skilled in electronics assembly found their expertise highly valued in neural interface production, where the margin for error was much smaller but the value of each unit was much higher. Many manufacturing jobs were preserved through this transition, though they required additional training and skill development. Neural interface manufacturing created entirely new categories of employment. Technicians specialized in neural signal processing, calibration specialists who helped users optimize their individual interface settings, and support staff trained in both technology and psychology to help users adapt to neural gaming. The complexity of neural interfaces required much more human support than traditional controllers, creating service sector jobs that couldn't be easily automated. The retail gaming industry experienced significant transformation as well. Traditional gaming stores evolved into experience centers where customers could try different types of interfaces and receive personalized recommendations based on their gaming preferences and physical needs. The expertise required to properly fit and configure neural interfaces created opportunities for specialized retail professionals who combined technical knowledge with customer service skills. Independent gaming accessory manufacturers found new niches in the evolving market. Some specialized in creating hybrid devices that combined physical and neural elements, while others focused on luxury customization services for traditional controllers. The market fragmentation created opportunities for smaller companies to serve specific customer segments that might have been overlooked by larger manufacturers focused on mass market appeal. The gaming content industry adapted by developing experiences optimized for different interface types. Some studios specialized in games that showcased the unique capabilities of neural interfaces, while others focused on experiences that emphasize the tactile satisfaction of physical controllers. This specialization created more diverse gaming content and allowed developers to pursue creative visions that matched specific interface capabilities. Economic research conducted during this period revealed interesting patterns in consumer spending on gaming interfaces. While the total number of gaming controllers sold decreased significantly, the total revenue from gaming interface sales actually increased due to the higher value of neural interfaces and premium physical controllers. Consumers were willing to invest more in gaming interfaces when those devices offered significantly enhanced capabilities or were positioned as long-term investments. The subscription service model that emerged for neural interface maintenance and updates created new recurring revenue streams for manufacturers. Unlike physical controllers that generated revenue only at purchase time, neural interfaces required ongoing software updates, calibration refinements, and technical support that justified monthly or annual service fees. This model provided more predictable revenue for manufacturers while ensuring that users received continuous improvements to their gaming experience. Gaming tournaments and competitive events created new economic opportunities around interface diversity. Tournament organizers could charge premium prices for events that featured both neural and physical interface competitions, as these mixed-format events attracted broader audiences and generated more excitement than single interface tournaments. Sponsorship opportunities expanded as companies could align with specific interface types or position themselves as supporters of gaming accessibility and innovation. The insurance industry developed new product categories to cover expensive neural gaming interfaces. Gaming insurance became a legitimate market segment, protecting users against device damage, theft, or technical failures that could be costly to repair or replace. This insurance market created jobs for specialists who understood gaming technology and could assess risks and claims related to gaming equipment. The secondary market for gaming controllers flourished during this transition period. Vintage and rare controllers became valuable collectibles, creating opportunities for restoration specialists, authentication experts, and specialized auction services. Some rare controllers from limited production runs achieved auction prices comparable to other luxury collectibles, creating investment opportunities and preserving gaming history. Educational institutions that trained technicians and support staff for the gaming industry updated their curricula to include neural interface technology while maintaining programs focused on traditional gaming hardware. These educational programs created partnerships with industry employers, ensuring that graduates had relevant skills for the evolving job market. Some institutions developed specialized certification programs for neural interface technicians, creating new professional credentials. The international trade implications of the controller transition created opportunities for countries with expertise in precision manufacturing and neural technology. Nations that had previously been minor players in gaming hardware manufacturing could leverage their strengths in medical devices or precision electronics to become major suppliers for neural interface components. As the transition accelerated between 2030 and 2032, a remarkable cultural movement emerged dedicated to preserving not just the physical artifacts of controller-based gaming, but the entire experiential ecosystem that surrounded tactile gaming culture. The Gaming Heritage Foundation, established in 2030, became the focal point for efforts to ensure that future generations could understand and experience the full richness of physical controller gaming. The Foundation's first major initiative was the creation of interactive gaming museums in major cities worldwide. Unlike traditional museums that displayed artifacts behind glass, these institutions focused on preserving playable experiences. Visitors could handle carefully maintained controllers from every generation of gaming history, playing games exactly as they would have been experienced during their original release periods. The museum's climate-controlled environments and expert restoration staff ensured that these gaming experiences would remain accessible for decades to come. The technical challenges of preservation proved more complex than initially anticipated. Early gaming controllers depended on specific hardware and software ecosystems that were becoming obsolete as the industry moved toward neural interfaces. Preservationists needed to maintain not just the controllers themselves, but entire gaming systems, display technologies, and even the physical environments in which games were originally played. This holistic approach to preservation required unprecedented collaboration between technology historians, gaming experts, and museum professionals. Documentation efforts during this period created the most comprehensive archive of gaming interface history ever assembled. The Foundation sponsored oral history projects that recorded interviews with controller designers, professional gamers, and longtime enthusiasts who could describe the subtle differences between different controller generations and explain how interface design influenced gaming culture. These recordings captured knowledge that might otherwise have been lost as the gaming industry moved in new directions. The preservation movement also focused on maintaining the social aspects of controller-based gaming. Local gaming centers began hosting throwback tournaments using vintage controllers and classic games, allowing new generations to experience competitive gaming as it had existed for decades. These events became popular social gatherings that bridged generational gaps, with older gamers sharing techniques and memories while younger players discovered the unique challenges and satisfactions of traditional gaming interfaces. Educational institutions partnered with the preservation movement to integrate gaming history into academic curricula. Design schools used controller evolution as case studies in industrial design, demonstrating how user interface development reflects broader technological and cultural changes. Engineering programs analyzed controller mechanisms to teach principles of precision manufacturing and ergonomic design. These academic partnerships ensured that controller design knowledge would be preserved and transmitted to future designers and engineers. The artisan controller movement that emerged during this period created a bridge between preservation and innovation. Master craftspeople began creating custom controllers that incorporated traditional design principles with modern materials and manufacturing techniques. These devices weren't intended for mass production, but rather served as demonstrations of the highest possible achievements in physical gaming interface design. Each artisan controller was a unique work of functional art that preserved traditional gaming interface concepts while pushing them to new levels of refinement. Some of the most dedicated preservationists went beyond simply maintaining existing controllers to actually manufacturing replacements for devices that had become too rare or fragile for regular use. These reproduction efforts required reverse engineering classic controllers and developing new manufacturing processes that could replicate the feel and performance of original devices. The technical challenges were significant, as many original controllers relied on manufacturing techniques and materials that were no longer in common use. The cultural documentation aspect of preservation extended to recording the social rituals and traditions that had developed around controller-based gaming. Researchers documented everything from competitive gaming techniques to the informal etiquette that governed local gaming gatherings. This anthropological approach to gaming preservation ensured that future historians would understand not just what gaming controllers looked like and how they functioned, but how they shaped social interactions and cultural practices. International collaboration became essential for comprehensive preservation efforts. Different regions had developed unique gaming cultures and controller preferences, and preserving the full diversity of gaming heritage required coordination between institutions worldwide. The Gaming Heritage Foundation established partnerships with museums, universities, and cultural organizations on every continent, creating a global network dedicated to gaming preservation. The philosophical aspects of preservation sparked important discussions about the nature of cultural heritage in the digital age. Gaming preservationists argued that interactive entertainment represented a new form of cultural expression that deserved the same protection and study traditionally afforded to literature, music, and visual arts. This perspective gradually gained acceptance among cultural institutions and government agencies responsible for heritage preservation. Private collecting communities played crucial roles in preservation efforts, as many of the rarest and most significant controllers were owned by individual enthusiasts rather than institutions. The Gaming Heritage Foundation developed programs to work with private collectors, providing conservation expertise and documentation services while respecting collectors' ownership rights. These partnerships expanded the scope of preservation efforts beyond what any single institution could accomplish. The preservation movement also addressed the environmental aspects of gaming heritage. Rather than allowing millions of obsolete controllers to become electronic waste, preservation programs developed recycling and refurbishment initiatives that kept functional devices in circulation while properly disposing of irreparable equipment. These programs demonstrated environmental responsibility while supporting the goal of maintaining gaming heritage for future generations. The years 2032 to 2033 witnessed the emergence of sophisticated hybrid systems that challenged the assumption that neural and physical interfaces were mutually exclusive technologies. Innovative designers began creating gaming experiences that deliberately combined both interface types, exploiting the unique strengths of each to create entirely new forms of interactive entertainment that would have been impossible with either technology alone. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: therapeutic gaming applications for individuals with partial motor function. Researchers discovered that some patients benefited from using neural interfaces for rapid decision-making while maintaining physical controls for fine motor skill rehabilitation. This medical need drove the development of sophisticated hybrid controllers that could seamlessly blend physical and neural inputs, switching between modes automatically based on the type of action being performed. Racing simulation games became showcase applications for hybrid interface technology. Players used neural interfaces for split-second steering adjustments and reaction-based maneuvers that required impossible speed, while maintaining physical controls for gear shifting, brake modulation, and other actions where tactile feedback provided important sensory information. Professional racing drivers testing these systems reported that the combination felt more realistic than either interface type alone, as it more closely matched the mix of automatic reflexes and conscious control involved in actual racing. Musical gaming applications demonstrated another compelling use case for hybrid interfaces. Rhythm games incorporated physical drum pads, piano keys, or string controllers for the tactile satisfaction and precise timing that musicians valued, while using neural interfaces for complex orchestral arrangements or electronic elements that would require impossibly fast finger movements. These hybrid musical interfaces attracted professional musicians who found them useful for composition and performance as well as entertainment. The development of adaptive hybrid systems represented a significant technological achievement. These interfaces could learn individual users' preferences and abilities, automatically adjusting the balance between physical and neural controls based on the specific game being played, the user's current skill level, and even factors like fatigue or stress. A single hybrid controller might emphasize physical controls for a relaxing puzzle game while shifting to primarily neural input for high-intensity competitive play. Training applications showcase the educational potential of hybrid interfaces. Flight simulation programs used physical controls for basic aircraft operation while incorporating neural interfaces for advanced systems management and emergency procedures that would overwhelm traditional control schemes. Medical training simulations combined tactile controllers for surgical procedures with neural interfaces for diagnostic reasoning and complex decision-making scenarios. The gaming industry's response to hybrid technologies was initially cautious, as developers worried about the complexity of creating content that could effectively utilize both interface types. However, early experimental games that embraced hybrid control schemes demonstrated compelling gameplay possibilities that attracted significant player interest. These games required new design paradigms that thought beyond traditional input limitations. Hybrid tournament formats became some of the most exciting competitive gaming events of this period. Players needed to master both interface types and understand when to rely on each technology for optimal performance. This added strategic depth to competitive gaming, as players could gain advantages by developing superior hybrid interface skills, or by making better decisions about when to rely on physical versus neural controls. The accessibility applications of hybrid interfaces proved transformative for many users. Individuals with conditions that affected some but not all motor functions could customize their hybrid controllers to use physical controls for abilities they retained while relying on neural interfaces for actions that were difficult or impossible with traditional controls. This personalization made gaming accessible to people with a much wider range of physical capabilities. Professional gaming equipment manufacturers developed increasingly sophisticated hybrid devices that cost tens of thousands of dollars and were tailored to individual users' specifications. These premium devices represented the pinnacle of gaming interface technology, incorporating the finest possible physical controls with cutting-edge neural interface capabilities. Professional gamers used these devices as professional tools comparable to high-end musical instruments or precision athletic equipment. The software challenges of supporting hybrid interfaces drove significant innovations in game design and development tools. Programmers needed to create systems that could handle rapid switching between interface types while maintaining consistent game performance and user experience. These technical challenges pushed the gaming industry toward more sophisticated and flexible development platforms that would benefit all types of gaming content. Research institutions studied hybrid interface users to better understand how human consciousness adapted to switching between different types of control mechanisms. These studies revealed fascinating insights about neural plasticity and the ability of the human brain to maintain multiple motor skill sets simultaneously. The findings had implications beyond gaming for understanding human adaptation to complex technological environments. The hybrid approach also influenced the design of non-gaming applications. Computer interfaces for professional applications began incorporating hybrid elements, allowing users to combine rapid neural navigation with precise physical input for detailed work. This cross-pollination between gaming and professional technology demonstrated the broader relevance of gaming interface innovations. By 2033, hybrid interfaces had established themselves as a permanent part of the gaming landscape rather than a transitional technology. They served specialized applications and user preferences that couldn't be fully addressed by pure neural or physical interfaces alone, creating a new category of gaming technology with its own dedicated user communities and development ecosystems. The worldwide adoption of neural gaming interfaces between 2032 and 2034 revealed fascinating cultural, economic, and social patterns that defied many predictions about technological diffusion. Rather than following typical technology adoption curves, neural interface uptake varied dramatically based on cultural attitudes toward technology, healthcare systems, educational infrastructure, and deeply rooted gaming traditions that had developed over decades in different regions. Scandinavian countries led global adoption rates, achieving over 80% neural interface penetration among active gamers by early 2033. The combination of strong social safety nets that supported industry workers during the transition, cultural values that emphasized technological innovation and accessibility, and robust healthcare systems that covered neural interfaces for therapeutic applications, created ideal conditions for rapid adoption. Norwegian gaming communities became global testing grounds for the most advanced neural interface technologies, with manufacturers often launching new features in Nordic markets before worldwide releases. Japan presented a fascinating paradox in adoption patterns. While the country was a global leader in neural interface technology development and manufacturing, Japanese gaming communities showed remarkably strong continued preference for physical controllers. Cultural values that emphasized craftsmanship, tradition, and the mastery of physical skills influenced gaming preferences, leading to the development of extraordinarily sophisticated final-generation controllers that elevated physical gaming interfaces to art forms. Japanese artisan controllers from this period became globally sought-after luxury items that commanded prices comparable to traditional craft objects. The United States exhibited highly fragmented adoption patterns that reflected regional economic differences, healthcare access variations, and diverse cultural attitudes toward new technology. Urban coastal areas showed rapid neural interface adoption, while rural and economically disadvantaged communities maintained strong preferences for traditional controllers due to cost barriers and limited access to the technical support infrastructure required for neural interfaces. This digital divide prompted government and industry initiatives to ensure equitable access to gaming technology. Chinese gaming communities embraced neural interfaces enthusiastically, particularly for competitive gaming applications where the speed advantages provided significant performance benefits. The massive scale of Chinese gaming markets drove rapid price reductions and technological improvements in neural interface systems. Chinese manufacturers became major players in the global neural interface market, developing cost-effective systems that made the technology accessible to much broader global audiences than had initially been possible. European adoption patterns varied significantly between countries, influenced by healthcare policies, economic conditions, and regulatory approaches to neural interface technology. Germany and France showed steady, methodical adoption supported by comprehensive regulatory frameworks that ensured safety while encouraging innovation. Mediterranean countries demonstrated more enthusiasm for the social aspects of hybrid gaming systems that allowed mixed interface competitive events and community activities. Developing nations faced unique challenges and opportunities during the neural interface transition. Limited healthcare infrastructure in some regions restricted access to neural interfaces, while others leveraged the technology's reduced manufacturing complexity compared to precision physical controllers to become major suppliers of neural interface components. Countries like India and Brazil developed specialized expertise in neural interface software and calibration services, creating new technology export industries. The generational patterns of adoption proved more complex than anticipated. While younger users generally adopted neural interfaces more readily, significant numbers of teenage and young adult gamers showed strong preferences for physical controllers, viewing them as more challenging and skillful. Conversely, many older gamers embraced neural interfaces for accessibility reasons or because they eliminated physical discomfort from repetitive strain injuries developed through decades of gaming. Gaming culture preservation movements emerged in regions with strong adoption of neural interfaces, as communities sought to maintain traditions and skills associated with physical controller gaming. Korea developed elaborate cultural programs to preserve traditional gaming techniques and competitive formats, viewing controller-based gaming as an important part of their national gaming heritage. These preservation efforts became models for other countries seeking to balance technological adoption with cultural continuity. Professional gaming leagues adapted to regional adoption patterns by creating international tournament formats that accommodated different interface preferences and capabilities. The Global Gaming Federation developed standardized rules for mixed interface competitions that allowed players from different regions to compete fairly regardless of their local technological preferences. These international events became celebrations of gaming diversity and technological innovation. Educational adoption patterns reflected national priorities and infrastructure capabilities. Countries with advanced educational technology programs integrated neural interfaces into learning environments, while regions with limited educational resources focused on making traditional gaming interfaces more accessible and affordable. These different approaches created diverse models for educational gaming that influence global best practices. Healthcare systems played crucial roles in determining adoption patterns, as countries with comprehensive medical coverage for neural interfaces saw much faster uptake than regions where the technology remained primarily a luxury consumer product. This healthcare dimension transformed neural interfaces from gaming accessories into legitimate medical devices, influencing how regulatory agencies and insurance providers approach the technology. The economic impacts of varying adoption patterns created new forms of international cooperation and trade relationships. Countries specializing in neural interface technology collaborated with regions maintaining expertise in traditional controller manufacturing, creating global supply chains that serve diverse market needs. These partnerships demonstrated how technological transitions could create opportunities for international cooperation rather than simply displacing existing industries. Language and communication factors also influenced adoption patterns, as neural interfaces required sophisticated software localization and cultural adaptation that went beyond simple translation. The technology needed to interpret thought patterns that might vary between cultures and languages, leading to specialized development efforts that created new forms of international technology collaboration. By 2034, as neural interface adoption accelerated globally, the physical gaming controller industry achieved its finest expression in what historians now recognize as the pinnacle of tactile gaming interface design. The controllers produced during this final period represented the culmination of over 4 decades of iterative refinement, combining advanced materials, science, precision manufacturing, and ergonomic expertise with the knowledge that these would be the last mass-produced physical gaming interfaces ever created. The DualSense Pro Elite, Sony's final commercial controller, embodied the extraordinary achievements of this period. Each unit required over 200 individual manufacturing steps and incorporated materials ranging from aerospace-grade aluminum to biocompatible silicone compounds originally developed for medical implants. The haptic feedback system could reproduce textures so precisely that blindfolded users could accurately identify virtual materials by touch alone. The adaptive triggers provided resistance profiles that perfectly mimicked the mechanical properties of hundreds of different virtual objects and mechanisms. Microsoft's Xbox Infinity controller pushed the boundaries of personalization and adaptability. Using advanced 3D scanning technology, each controller was custom manufactured to match the precise hand geometry of its intended user. The modular design allowed for complete reconfiguration of button layouts, stick tensions, and haptic feedback patterns. The controller included biometric sensors that monitored user stress, fatigue, and engagement levels, automatically adjusting response characteristics to maintain optimal gaming performance throughout extended play sessions. Nintendo's approach to final generation controller design emphasized innovation within familiarity. The Switch Finale maintained the company's traditional focus on intuitive, accessible design while incorporating subtle technological advances that enhanced rather than replaced traditional gaming interactions. The controller's adaptive interface could simplify or complexify its response characteristics based on game requirements and user preferences, making it equally suitable for casual family gaming and professional competitive play. Independent manufacturers created the most experimental and luxurious controllers of this era. Companies like Evil Controllers and Battle Beaver Customs produced devices that sold for thousands of dollars and required months-long waiting lists. These artisanal controllers incorporated precious metals, exotic woods, and custom-machined components with tolerances typically reserved for precision scientific instruments. Each device was a unique work of functional art that represented the absolute pinnacle of physical gaming interface craftsmanship. The haptic feedback technology achieved during this period bordered on the miraculous. Advanced controllers could simulate not just vibration and force feedback, but actual texture, temperature, and material properties. Users reported being able to feel the difference between different types of virtual fabric, the grain pattern of virtual wood, or the temperature of virtual metals. This level of tactile simulation required unprecedented precision in actuator design and control algorithms. Predictive response systems represented another breakthrough achievement of final generation controllers. These devices analyzed game state information and user behavior patterns to anticipate input requirements, pre-positioning mechanical components and calculating optimal response parameters before commands were actually issued. The result was controllers that felt more responsive and intuitive than traditional mechanical systems should theoretically have been able to achieve. The integration of health monitoring and ergonomic optimization reached sophisticated levels in these final controllers. Devices could track dozens of biometric indicators in real time, providing feedback about optimal hand positioning, alerting users to potential repetitive strain risks, and suggesting break schedules based on individual usage patterns. Some controllers included therapeutic features like targeted muscle stimulation and circulation enhancement that actually improved hand health during gaming sessions. Quality control and manufacturing precision during this period exceeded standards typically associated with luxury watchmaking or aerospace components. Controllers underwent testing regimens that simulated decades of intensive use, with failure rates measured in parts per million rather than percentages. The manufacturing tolerances for mechanical components often exceeded the precision capabilities of human sensory perception, creating devices that felt impossibly refined and precise. The software integration achievements of final generation controllers were equally impressive. These devices included sophisticated onboard processors that could run complex algorithms for signal processing, predictive response calculation, and adaptive behavior modification. The controllers essentially became specialized computers dedicated entirely to optimizing the interface between human intention and virtual action. Environmental considerations influenced the design of final generation controllers in ways that hadn't been prioritized in earlier eras. Manufacturers used sustainable materials wherever possible, designed for complete recyclability, and implemented production processes that minimized environmental impact. Some controllers included modular designs that allowed for component replacement and upgrading rather than complete device replacement, extending product life cycles significantly. The collectors and enthusiasts who acquired these final generation controllers often treated them as investment pieces and cultural artifacts rather than mere gaming tools. Some rare controllers from limited production runs achieved auction prices comparable to luxury automobiles or fine art pieces. The secondary market for these devices created an entire ecosystem of authentication services, restoration specialists, and specialized insurance providers. The psychological impact of owning and using these extraordinary controllers influenced gaming experiences in subtle but meaningful ways. Players reported feeling more connected to virtual environments and more confident in their gaming abilities when using premium controllers that responded perfectly to their intentions. The tactile quality and precision of these devices created a sense of technological partnership that enhanced rather than distracted from gaming immersion. As production of commercial physical controllers wound down in late 2034, the gaming community recognized that they were witnessing the end of an extraordinary period of technological and artistic achievement. The final controllers represented not just the culmination of engineering progress, but cultural artifacts that embodied humanity's four-decade relationship with tactile digital interfaces. The period from 2034 to 2035 marked the completion of what accessibility advocates called the universal gaming revolution, the achievement of truly inclusive gaming experiences that welcomed participants regardless of their physical capabilities, economic circumstances, or technological preferences. This transformation represented far more than technological advancement. It embodied a fundamental shift in how the gaming industry conceived of its audience and responsibilities. The breakthrough moment came with the release of the Universal Gaming Protocol, a technical standard that allowed any game to be played with any combination of interface technologies. Whether a player used a premium physical controller, a basic neural interface, voice commands, eye tracking, or any combination of input methods, they could participate in the same gaming experiences with equivalent opportunities for success and enjoyment. This standardization eliminated the technological barriers that had historically excluded many potential gamers. Sarah Martinez, a competitive gamer who had been unable to participate in traditional gaming due to limited hand mobility, became one of the most visible advocates for universal gaming accessibility. Her championship victory in the 2034 Global Gaming Federation tournament, achieved using a combination of neural interface and voice commands while competing against players using traditional controllers, demonstrated that accessibility technologies had achieved true competitive parity rather than serving as consolation alternatives. The economic accessibility achievements were equally transformative. The Global Gaming Access Initiative, supported by major technology companies and gaming organizations, established programs that provided gaming interfaces and technical support to individuals and communities that couldn't afford premium gaming technology. These programs recognized gaming as a form of social participation and cultural expression that deserved equitable access rather than being treated as a luxury available only to those with economic advantages. Educational institutions played crucial roles in advancing gaming accessibility. Universities developed research programs that studied the relationship between different interface technologies and learning outcomes, discovering that some students learned more effectively when using neural interfaces while others showed better comprehension with traditional controllers. This research led to educational gaming platforms that could automatically adapt to individual learning preferences and capabilities. The therapeutic gaming applications that had emerged earlier in the transition period reached full maturity during this final phase. Healthcare providers began prescribing specific gaming interfaces and activities as medical treatments for conditions ranging from depression and anxiety to motor skill rehabilitation and cognitive enhancement. Gaming transformed from entertainment medium to legitimate healthcare intervention, covered by insurance providers and integrated into treatment protocols. Professional gaming organizations established comprehensive accessibility standards that ensured fair competition regardless of interface preferences or physical capabilities. Tournament organizers developed sophisticated classification systems that grouped competitors based on gaming skills rather than interface types, creating competitive environments where success depended on strategic thinking, reaction speed, and game knowledge, rather than specific technological advantages. The social integration aspects of universal gaming created new forms of community and shared experience. Families could participate in gaming activities together despite using different interface technologies, with games automatically balancing for different input methods while maintaining challenging and engaging experiences for all participants. These inclusive gaming experiences strengthened social bonds and created shared cultural references across diverse communities. Gaming content creators adapted their work to serve universally accessible audiences. Streamers and content producers developed presentation techniques that made their content engaging regardless of how viewers might choose to interact with similar games. Educational gaming content incorporated multiple interface demonstrations, helping viewers understand how different technologies could be used to achieve similar gaming outcomes. The preservation of gaming accessibility extended beyond current technologies to ensure that future innovations would maintain inclusive design principles. The Gaming Accessibility Archive documented successful design patterns, user experience research, and community feedback that could guide future technology development. This archive served as a resource for ensuring that technological advancement wouldn't inadvertently exclude users who had been successfully included in gaming communities. International cooperation on gaming accessibility created global standards and shared resources that benefited users worldwide. Countries with advanced accessibility technology shared their innovations with developing nations, while regions with strong community support networks provided models for inclusive gaming program implementation. These partnerships demonstrated how gaming accessibility could serve broader goals of international cooperation and development. The cultural impact of universal gaming accessibility influenced other technology sectors to adopt more inclusive design principles. The gaming industry's success in creating technologies that serve diverse user needs provided models for accessible design in professional software, educational technology, and consumer electronics. Gaming accessibility innovations found applications in medical devices, assistive technologies, and workplace productivity tools. Research institutions documented the social and psychological benefits of inclusive gaming experiences, providing evidence that gaming accessibility contributed to broader social inclusion and community participation. Studies showed that individuals who gained access to gaming through accessibility technologies often experienced improved social connections, enhanced self-confidence, and expanded participation in other digital activities. The business case for gaming accessibility proved compelling as companies discovered that inclusive design principles often led to innovations that benefited all users rather than just those with specific accessibility needs. Features developed for accessibility frequently improve the gaming experience for everyone, creating commercial incentives for continued investment in inclusive technology development. By the end of 2035, gaming accessibility had achieved its fundamental goal, ensuring that anyone who wanted to participate in gaming culture could do so on equal terms, regardless of their physical capabilities, economic circumstances, or technological preferences. This achievement represented one of the most successful examples of technology industry collaboration to address social inclusion challenges. The final months of 2035 witnessed the emergence of a sophisticated collector's market for gaming controllers that rivaled established markets for vintage automobiles, rare books, and fine art. This collecting phenomenon represented more than simple nostalgia. It embodied a recognition that physical gaming controllers had achieved status as significant cultural artifacts worthy of preservation, study, and appreciation as examples of industrial design and technological achievement. The auction house Christie's shocked the art world by establishing a dedicated gaming heritage department and hosting their first major controller auction in November 2035. The Starlot, a prototype Nintendo controller designed by the legendary Gunpei Yokoi but never released to the public, sold for $847,000 to an anonymous collector. This sale established gaming controllers as legitimate collectibles with investment potential comparable to other historical artifacts. Authentication became a crucial concern as the collector's market developed. The proliferation of reproduction controllers and modified devices required the development of sophisticated authentication services that could verify the provenance and originality of collectible gaming devices. Companies like Controller Authentication Services developed forensic techniques that could identify original components, verify manufacturing dates, and detect modifications or restorations that might affect a device's historical accuracy and market value. The most sought-after collectibles were prototype controllers, limited edition devices from significant gaming milestones, and controllers owned by famous gaming personalities. A controller used by the professional gaming champion Fatal One-Tide during his championship run sold for over $200,000. While a prototype Sega controller from the company's internal development archives commanded $156,000 at auction. These prices reflected not just rarity, but the cultural significance attached to gaming history and the personalities who shaped it. Restoration specialists emerged as crucial professionals within the collecting ecosystem. These technicians possess the expertise to repair and maintain vintage controllers without compromising their historical authenticity. The best restoration specialists commanded fees comparable to those charged by experts who maintain classic automobiles or antique timepieces, reflecting the precision and specialized knowledge required for proper controller maintenance. Private collectors began establishing personal museums dedicated to gaming controller history. The Johnson Gaming Collection in California featured over 3,000 controllers spanning 5 decades of gaming history, including many one-of-a-kind prototypes and experimental devices. These private collections often exceeded the scope and quality of institutional gaming museums, as dedicated collectors had the resources and passion to acquire items that museums couldn't afford or justify purchasing. The documentation and cataloging efforts of serious collectors contributed significantly to gaming historical preservation. Collectors like Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a retired computer science professor, spent decades researching controller development history, interviewing original designers, and documenting the technical specifications and cultural context of rare devices. Her comprehensive database became an essential reference for gaming historians and other collectors worldwide. Investment funds began including rare gaming controllers in their alternative asset portfolios, recognizing that certain devices had demonstrated consistent appreciation in value while offering diversification benefits for traditional investment strategies. The Gaming Heritage Investment Fund, established in 2035, specifically targeted rare controllers, vintage gaming systems, and gaming memorabilia as inflation hedges and alternative investments with cultural significance. Insurance companies developed specialized policies for gaming collectibles, acknowledging that rare controllers required different coverage considerations than traditional collectibles. These policies needed to account for the technological obsolescence risks, the specialized storage requirements for electronic devices, and the limited number of qualified restoration professionals who could properly maintain these artifacts. The international trade in gaming collectibles created new diplomatic and cultural exchange opportunities. Countries began recognizing rare gaming controllers as cultural exports requiring special export permits, similar to how other nations regulate the export of significant cultural artifacts. Japan implemented particularly strict controls on prototype controllers and development hardware, recognizing these items as important elements of the country's technological heritage. Academic institutions began incorporating gaming controller collections into their research and teaching activities. Design schools used controller evolution as case studies in industrial design development, while computer science programs analyzed controller hardware and software as examples of human-computer interface design principles. These academic collections served educational purposes while preserving gaming heritage for future research. The social aspects of controller collecting created communities that bridged generational and cultural boundaries. Collecting forums and conventions brought together teenagers interested in retro gaming with industry veterans who had worked on original controller development. These intergenerational exchanges preserved oral histories and technical knowledge that might otherwise have been lost as the gaming industry evolved. Ethical considerations emerged around the preservation versus use debate within collecting communities. Some collectors argued that rare controllers should be preserved in pristine, unused condition to maintain their historical integrity, while others contended that gaming controllers were meant to be used, and that playing games with original hardware provided the most authentic historical experience. This debate influenced how collectors approached conservation and display of their acquisitions. The geographic distribution of collecting reflected global patterns in gaming culture and economic development. Japanese collectors showed particular interest in controllers from domestic manufacturers, while American collectors focused on devices from significant gaming milestones in U.S. gaming history. European collectors often specialized in controllers from computer gaming systems that had been particularly popular in European markets during the 1980s and 1990s. Specialized storage and display solutions developed to meet the unique requirements of controller collections. Climate-controlled display cases protected electronic components from humidity and temperature fluctuations, while specialized lighting systems prevented UV damage to plastic components. Some collectors invested tens of thousands of dollars in proper storage systems to protect collections worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The controller collecting phenomenon demonstrated that gaming culture had achieved sufficient maturity and historical significance to support serious collecting markets comparable to those that had developed around other forms of cultural expression and technological achievement. By early 2035, neural gaming interfaces had achieved remarkable sophistication and safety standards that addressed virtually all concerns that had been raised during their initial development phases. The technology had evolved from experimental prototypes to consumer devices with safety records superior to many common household electronics, reliability that exceeded traditional gaming controllers, and user experience quality that had won over even skeptical gaming communities. The safety achievements represented the culmination of over a decade of intensive research, testing, and refinement. Neural interfaces operated at power levels thousands of times lower than those used in medical devices like cochlear implants or deep brain stimulators, with electromagnetic field strengths far below those generated by common devices like cell phones or wireless routers. Long-term studies involving tens of thousands of users showed no evidence of any negative health effects from regular neural interface use. Dr. Michael Chen's landmark longitudinal study, published in the Journal of Neural Technology Safety, followed 50,000 neural interface users for 5 years, and found that regular users actually showed improved cognitive performance in areas like reaction time, spatial reasoning, and multitasking compared to control groups. The study suggested that neural interface gaming might provide cognitive benefits similar to other forms of mental exercise, though researchers cautioned that more research was needed to fully understand the long-term effects. The precision achievements of mature neural interfaces bordered on the seemingly impossible. The latest devices could distinguish between thoughts about moving different fingers, detect intention to perform actions before users were consciously aware of their decisions, and interpret complex commands involving multiple simultaneous actions with greater accuracy than traditional controllers. The response time from thought to action was measured in single-digit milliseconds, creating gaming experiences that felt genuinely telepathic. Calibration procedures had been refined to the point where new users could achieve full functionality within minutes rather than the hours or days required by earlier systems. Advanced machine learning algorithms created personalized neural profiles that adapted to individual users' thought patterns, cognitive habits, and even mood variations. These systems became more accurate over time as they learned each user's unique neural characteristics. The development of standardized neural interface protocols eliminated compatibility concerns that had plagued early adoption. Users could switch between different neural interface devices or use their trained neural profiles with new systems without requiring recalibration. This standardization encouraged broader adoption by removing the lock-in concerns that had made some users hesitant to invest in neural interface technology. Safety certification processes developed by international regulatory agencies provided consumer confidence while encouraging continued innovation. The Neural Interface Safety Consortium, established by cooperation between the FDA, European Medicines Agency, and corresponding agencies worldwide, created comprehensive testing standards that devices needed to meet before commercial release. These standards were rigorous enough to ensure safety while avoiding unnecessarily restrictive requirements that might stifle beneficial innovation. The therapeutic applications of neural gaming interfaces expanded to address an even broader range of medical conditions. Neurologists use gaming interfaces to help patients with Parkinson's disease maintain motor skills. Psychiatrists incorporated them into treatment protocols for depression and anxiety, and rehabilitation specialists found them invaluable for helping stroke patients regain cognitive function. The gaming context made these therapeutic interventions more engaging and effective than traditional medical approaches. Emergency disconnection systems provided additional safety assurance for users and healthcare providers. Neural interfaces included multiple independent systems for immediately terminating the connection if any abnormal patterns were detected in either the device or the user's neural activity. These fail-safe mechanisms operated faster than human reaction times and could respond to potential problems before users were aware that anything was wrong. The pediatric safety research conducted during this period established guidelines for appropriate neural interface use by children and adolescents. Studies showed that young users adapted to neural interfaces more quickly than adults, but also required special consideration for their developing nervous systems. Age-appropriate neural interfaces included built-in limitations and parental controls that ensured healthy usage patterns while providing access to the educational and entertainment benefits of neural gaming. Privacy and mental security protections addressed concerns about unauthorized access to users' thoughts or mental patterns. Neural interfaces were designed with multiple layers of encryption and authentication that made unauthorized access technically impossible with current technology. The devices could only interpret specific types of motor intention signals related to gaming actions, not access memories, emotions, or other mental content. Quality of life improvements for users with disabilities reached unprecedented levels through mature neural interface technology. Individuals with conditions ranging from spinal cord injuries to ALS could participate in gaming activities that had been impossible with traditional controllers, often achieving competitive performance levels that matched or exceeded traditional interface users. These achievements demonstrated that neural interfaces represented genuine accessibility solutions rather than compensatory technologies. The integration of neural interfaces with other assistive technologies created comprehensive accessibility solutions that extended beyond gaming. Users could control wheelchairs, communication devices, environmental systems, and other assistive technologies using the same neural interface systems they used for gaming. This integration reduced the technological burden for users with disabilities while providing more comprehensive independence and quality of life improvements. Training and support systems for neural interface users became increasingly sophisticated and accessible. Professional technicians provided personalized setup and optimization services, while online communities shared techniques for maximizing neural interface performance. Educational programs helped users understand how to maintain optimal neural interface function and recognize signs that might indicate the need for professional support. The environmental and ethical considerations of neural interface manufacturing received significant attention as production scaled up to meet global demand. Manufacturers implemented sustainable production processes, conflict-free sourcing for rare materials, and comprehensive recycling programs for devices reaching end of life. These considerations ensured that the neural interface revolution didn't create negative externalities that might undermine its positive social impacts. The 2035 Global Gaming Championships, held in Singapore from October 15 to 31st, represented the culmination of competitive gaming's evolution during the interface transition period. These tournaments, dubbed the Final Championships by gaming media, featured the last major competitive events where neural interface and traditional controller players competed in the same brackets, marking the end of an era in professional gaming history. The tournament structure accommodated the full spectrum of interface technologies that had coexisted during the transition period. Players could compete using traditional controllers, neural interfaces, hybrid systems, or any combination of input methods, with sophisticated balancing algorithms ensuring fair competition regardless of interface choice. This inclusive approach created some of the most exciting and unpredictable competitive gaming ever witnessed. Marcus Physical Pro Johnson, a 34-year-old traditional controller specialist from Canada, became the tournament's most celebrated competitor by reaching the finals in 3 different game categories while using exclusively traditional controllers. His victory in the precision platforming category, achieved against competitors using neural interfaces, demonstrated that traditional gaming skills remained relevant and competitive even as technology advanced. Johnson's calm, methodical playing style showcased the meditative focus and practiced precision that characterized traditional controller mastery. The neural interface competitors brought unprecedented speed and multitasking capabilities to tournament play. Elena Mind-Link Vasquez executed command sequences and strategic combinations that would have been physically impossible with traditional controllers, creating entirely new competitive strategies that pushed game developers to design more complex and challenging content. Her real-time strategy game performances required managing dozens of simultaneous actions with precision that approached artificial intelligence levels. Hybrid interface competitors like David Bridge player Kim demonstrated the strategic depth possible when combining interface technologies. Kim's tournament strategy involved switching between neural and physical controls mid-game based on specific tactical requirements, using neural interfaces for rapid decision-making while relying on traditional controllers for actions requiring precise timing and tactile feedback. His approach influenced future tournament format development and game design considerations. The accessibility achievements showcased during these tournaments provided some of the most inspiring moments in competitive gaming history. Sarah Chen, competing with a neural interface due to limited hand mobility, achieved championship-level performance that demonstrated the technology's potential for creating truly inclusive competitive environments. Her success influenced gaming industry policies and inspired accessibility advocacy efforts worldwide. Tournament organizers implemented innovative broadcasting technologies that allowed viewers to experience competitions from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Audiences could watch traditional controller players' hand movements while monitoring neural interface users' thought patterns and decision-making processes. These multi-perspective broadcasts provided unprecedented insight into competitive gaming strategy and human-computer interface dynamics. The prize pools for the final championships reached record levels, with total awards exceeding $50 million across all competitions. Sponsors recognized that these tournaments represented historic moments in gaming culture and invested accordingly in supporting the events. The largest individual prize, $2.3 million for the multi-game championship, demonstrated the commercial maturity and cultural significance that competitive gaming had achieved. International participation in the final championships created diplomatic and cultural exchange opportunities that extended beyond gaming. Teams from over 150 countries participated, with many governments recognizing competitive gaming as a form of cultural diplomacy and soft power projection. The tournaments became platforms for demonstrating technological innovation and educational achievement as much as gaming prowess. The legacy preservation efforts surrounding these tournaments ensured that the strategies, techniques, and cultural moments would be maintained for future study and appreciation. Complete recordings of all tournament matches were archived with multiple camera angles, biometric data from competitors, and detailed technical analysis of interface performance. These archives became resources for gaming historians and researchers studying human-computer interaction evolution. Youth development programs associated with the tournaments created pathways for the next generation of competitive gamers to develop skills with whatever interface technologies they preferred. Training academies established partnerships with schools and community organizations to provide access to diverse gaming interfaces and professional coaching, ensuring that competitive gaming opportunities remained accessible regardless of economic circumstances or technological preferences. The cultural impact of the final championships extended beyond the gaming community to influence broader discussions about human-technology integration, competitive fairness, and technological accessibility. Academic conferences, policy discussions, and international technology forums reference the tournaments as examples of successful technology transition management and inclusive design implementation. Retirement ceremonies for legendary traditional controller players provided emotional moments that recognized their contributions to gaming culture, while celebrating the technological evolution that had created new opportunities for future competitors. These ceremonies balanced nostalgia for traditional gaming with excitement about future possibilities, helping gaming communities process the transition in positive and forward-looking ways. The economic impact of the final championships influenced host city selection for future international gaming events. Singapore's successful hosting demonstrated the economic benefits of major gaming tournaments and influenced other cities to invest in gaming infrastructure and accessibility accommodations. The tournaments became models for large-scale inclusive technology events that could serve multiple social and economic purposes. Gaming equipment manufacturers used the tournaments as showcases for their latest technologies while demonstrating commitment to supporting diverse gaming communities. The collaboration between traditional controller manufacturers and neural interface companies during these events created new business relationships and technology sharing agreements that influenced future product development. The scientific research opportunities provided by the tournaments contributed to understanding of competitive performance, stress response, and human-technology integration under high-pressure conditions. Researchers collected data about reaction times, decision-making patterns, and physiological responses that informed both gaming technology development and broader studies of human performance and adaptation. The final championships established tournament formats and competitive standards that influenced gaming events for years afterward, creating frameworks for inclusive competition that balanced technological innovation with respect for traditional gaming skills and communities. The gaming industry's transition from physical controllers to neural interfaces during the 2030s created significant environmental implications that required careful management and innovative solutions. The shift represented both challenges and opportunities for sustainable technology practices, ultimately demonstrating how technological transitions could be managed to minimize environmental impact while maximizing social benefits. The cessation of mass controller manufacturing eliminated significant environmental burdens associated with plastic production, rare earth metal extraction, and electronic component manufacturing. Traditional controller production had required complex supply chains involving petroleum-based plastics, lithium for batteries, rare earth elements for electronics, and various metals for internal components. The neural interface transition reduced these material requirements by over 90% per gaming interface unit, as neural devices required fewer physical components and could be manufactured using more sustainable materials. However, the transition also created challenges related to electronic waste management and disposal of obsolete gaming equipment. An estimated 2.3 billion gaming controllers worldwide faced potential obsolescence as neural interfaces gained popularity, representing a significant electronic waste challenge if not managed properly. The gaming industry collaborated with environmental organizations and government agencies to develop comprehensive recycling and refurbishment programs that prevented controllers from entering landfills. The Global Gaming Recycling Initiative, launched in 2034, established collection and processing centers worldwide that specialized in gaming equipment recycling. These facilities could disassemble controllers to recover valuable materials like rare earth elements, precious metals, and recyclable plastics. The recovered materials were redirected to neural interface manufacturing, creating closed-loop material cycles that reduce the environmental impact of new technology production. Refurbishment programs transformed many functional controllers into devices for educational institutions, accessibility programs, and developing regions where neural interfaces were not yet widely available. Professional refurbishment services restored controllers to like-new condition while updating their software and replacing worn components. These programs extended the useful life of existing controllers while supporting global digital inclusion efforts. The energy efficiency improvements of neural interfaces contributed significantly to reduced environmental impact from gaming activities. Neural interfaces consumed approximately 85% less energy than traditional gaming systems that included controllers, charging stations, and wireless communication components. This efficiency improvement was particularly significant given the hundreds of millions of active gamers worldwide and the cumulative energy savings from reduced power consumption. Sustainable manufacturing practices for neural interfaces incorporated lessons learned from the traditional controller industry while implementing more environmentally responsible approaches. Neural interface manufacturers used recycled materials wherever possible, implemented renewable energy in production facilities, and designed devices for easy disassembly and component recovery at end of life. Some manufacturers achieved carbon-neutral production through a combination of efficiency improvements and renewable energy investments. The reduction in shipping and logistics requirements provided additional environmental benefits. Neural interfaces were smaller and lighter than traditional gaming systems, requiring less packaging material and transportation fuel. The digital distribution of neural interface software and updates eliminated the physical media and packaging associated with traditional gaming accessories. These logistics improvements reduced the carbon footprint of gaming technology distribution by an estimated 60%. Research institutions studied the broader environmental implications of the interface transition, including indirect effects on energy consumption, material usage, and waste generation throughout the gaming ecosystem. The findings generally supported the conclusion that neural interfaces represented a net environmental improvement, though researchers emphasized the importance of responsible design and lifecycle management to maintain these benefits. The preservation movement for traditional controllers aligned with sustainability goals by preventing functional devices from becoming waste while maintaining cultural and historical value. Gaming museums, educational institutions, and collector communities served as repositories for controllers that might otherwise have been discarded, ensuring that these devices remained accessible for future research and appreciation. Corporate sustainability reporting within the gaming industry began incorporating metrics related to interface transition environmental impacts. Companies tracked material usage reductions, energy efficiency improvements, recycling program effectiveness, and carbon footprint changes associated with their transition strategies. These reports provided transparency and accountability for environmental commitments while informing best practices across the industry. Government policy responses to the environmental aspects of the gaming transition included incentives for sustainable manufacturing, support for recycling programs, and regulations that encouraged responsible disposal of obsolete gaming equipment. Some regions implemented extended producer responsibility policies that held manufacturers accountable for the full life cycle environmental impact of their products, including end-of-life disposal and recycling. The circular economy principles that emerged from the gaming transition influenced other technology sectors to adopt more sustainable approaches to product development and transition management. The gaming industry's success in managing a major technological transition while minimizing environmental impact became a model for other industries facing similar challenges related to technological obsolescence and upgrade cycles. Environmental benefits extended beyond direct material and energy considerations to include reduced transportation for competitive gaming events. Neural interfaces enabled more effective remote competition and virtual tournament formats that reduced the travel requirements for professional gaming events. This shift decreased the carbon footprint of competitive gaming while making events more accessible to participants from diverse geographic locations. The integration of environmental monitoring into gaming technology created new opportunities for environmental education and awareness. Some neural interface systems included features that tracked and reported on their energy consumption and environmental impact, helping users make informed decisions about their gaming habits. These educational features contributed to broader environmental awareness and sustainable technology adoption patterns. Life cycle assessment studies of different gaming interface technologies provided detailed quantitative comparisons of environmental impacts across multiple categories, including material extraction, manufacturing, use phase energy consumption, and end-of-life disposal. These studies informed policy decisions, manufacturing improvements, and consumer choices while establishing frameworks for evaluating the environmental implications of future gaming technology developments. The integration of neural interface technology into educational systems during 2034 and 2035 represented one of the most significant advances in educational methodology since the introduction of personal computers in classrooms. The technology's ability to create direct neural connections with learning content opened possibilities for educational experiences that had previously existed only in science fiction, while respecting traditional pedagogical principles and accommodating diverse learning preferences. The breakthrough came through research conducted at the Educational Technology Institute of Stanford, where Dr. Maria Santos demonstrated that neural interfaces could significantly accelerate language learning by allowing students to directly experience linguistic patterns and grammatical structures. Students using neural interface language learning systems achieved fluency levels in 6 months that typically required 2 to 3 years with traditional methods. The technology didn't replace traditional language instruction but enhanced it by providing immediate feedback and immersive practice opportunities. Mathematics education proved particularly well suited to neural interface enhancement. Students could directly manipulate three-dimensional mathematical concepts, experience geometric relationships through spatial reasoning rather than just visual representation, and solve complex equations by thinking through mathematical operations rather than writing them out. The immediate feedback and interactive nature of neural interface mathematics created more intuitive understanding of abstract concepts. Special education applications of neural interface technology created unprecedented opportunities for students with learning disabilities. Students with dyslexia found that neural interfaces could bypass some of the processing difficulties associated with traditional text reading, while students with ADHD often showed improved focus and attention when using neural learning systems. The technology's adaptability allowed for personalized learning experiences that matched individual cognitive patterns and learning preferences. The development of educational neural interface systems required careful consideration of child development and cognitive safety. Pediatric neural interface devices included built-in limitations that prevented overstimulation, automatic break reminders that promoted healthy usage patterns, and parental controls that allowed monitoring of educational progress. These safety features addressed concerns while maximizing the educational benefits of the technology. Traditional educational methods maintained important roles even as neural interfaces became more common in classrooms. Educators discovered that some learning objectives were better achieved through traditional instruction, while others benefited from neural interface enhancement. The most effective educational programs combined both approaches, using neural interfaces for concepts that benefited from direct experiential learning, while maintaining traditional methods for skills that required different types of cognitive development. Teacher training programs evolved to help educators understand how to effectively integrate neural interface technology into their instruction. Professional development courses taught teachers how to balance neural and traditional learning activities, how to support students using different interface technologies, and how to assess learning outcomes across diverse technological approaches. These training programs ensured that technological innovation enhanced rather than disrupted effective teaching practices. The accessibility benefits of educational neural interfaces extended learning opportunities to students who had been underserved by traditional educational methods. Students with physical disabilities that limited their ability to use traditional writing tools could participate fully in written assignments and creative projects. Students with certain types of processing disorders found that neural interfaces provided alternative pathways to understanding that circumvented their specific learning challenges. Research universities established dedicated programs for studying the cognitive and developmental implications of neural interface education. These studies track students' academic progress, cognitive development, and social adjustment to ensure that neural interface education provided benefits without creating unintended negative consequences. The research findings generally supported the conclusion that properly implemented neural interface education enhanced learning without interfering with normal cognitive development. International educational exchanges became more accessible through neural interface technology that could provide real-time translation and cultural context information. Students participating in virtual exchange programs could communicate more effectively with peers from other countries and gain deeper understanding of different cultural perspectives. These programs created global learning communities that transcended geographic and linguistic barriers. The economic implications of educational neural interface adoption required careful consideration of equity and access. Educational funding systems needed to ensure that neural interface technology was available to all students regardless of their school's economic resources. Public-private partnerships developed to provide neural interface access to schools and communities that couldn't afford the technology independently. Curriculum development for neural interface education required new approaches to learning objective definition and assessment. Educators needed to understand how to measure learning outcomes when students use direct neural learning methods, and how to ensure that neural interface learning translated to practical knowledge and skills applicable outside of technological contexts. These challenges led to innovative assessment methods and more nuanced understanding of learning processes. The social dynamics of classrooms changed as students used different types of learning interfaces based on their preferences and needs. Teachers developed strategies for managing mixed interface classrooms while ensuring that all students could participate effectively in group activities and collaborative projects. These classroom management innovations created more inclusive educational environments that accommodated diverse learning approaches. Professional and vocational education programs adapted neural interface technology to provide more realistic and comprehensive training experiences. Medical students could practice procedures through neural simulation. Engineering students could directly manipulate complex systems and processes, and art students could explore creative concepts through enhanced spatial reasoning and visualization capabilities. These applications prepared students for careers in increasingly technological work environments. The long-term academic outcomes of students who used neural interface educational technology became subjects of longitudinal studies that tracked their progress through higher education and into professional careers. Early results suggested that students who learned with neural interfaces developed enhanced problem-solving abilities and technological fluency that served them well in advanced academic and professional settings. Educational policy discussions focused on ensuring that neural interface technology enhanced educational equity rather than creating new forms of digital divide. Policymakers worked to establish standards for educational neural interface implementation that promoted inclusive access while maintaining educational quality and safety standards. The widespread adoption of neural gaming interfaces by 2035 sparked profound philosophical discussions about the nature of human-technology integration, consciousness, and the evolving relationship between physical and digital experience. These conversations extended far beyond gaming communities to influence academic philosophy, technology ethics, and cultural understanding of what it means to be human in an increasingly connected world. The phenomenology of neural interface gaming challenged traditional distinctions between mind and machine, raising questions about where human consciousness ended and technological augmentation began. Players reported that extended neural interface use created a sense of expanded capability that felt like natural extension of their cognitive abilities rather than external tool use. This experiential shift prompted philosophers to reconsider fundamental assumptions about embodiment, agency, and technological mediation of human experience. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a philosopher of technology at Oxford University, conducted extensive interviews with neural interface users to understand how the technology affected their sense of self and agency. Her research revealed that most users experienced neural interfaces as enhancement rather than replacement of their natural capabilities, similar to how eyeglasses or bicycles extend human abilities without fundamentally altering personal identity. However, some users reported more profound changes in how they related to technology and virtual environments. The cultural preservation arguments surrounding traditional controller gaming reflected deeper concerns about maintaining authentic human experience in an increasingly technological world. Critics worried that neural interfaces might eliminate important aspects of embodied experience that contributed to personal development, spatial reasoning, and tactile understanding of the world. These concerns led to research studies examining whether neural interface use affected cognitive development or sensory processing abilities. Generational differences in philosophical approaches to human technology integration became apparent during this period. Younger users who grew up with neural interfaces often saw the technology as natural and unremarkable, while older users more frequently experienced neural interfaces as profound expansions of human capability. These generational perspectives influenced cultural attitudes toward technology adoption and shaped policy discussions about appropriate uses of neural enhancement technologies. The gaming industry's approach to neural interface design reflected implicit philosophical assumptions about the proper relationship between humans and machines. Some designers emphasized seamless integration that made the technology invisible to users, while others maintained deliberate boundaries that preserved user awareness of technological mediation. These design philosophies influenced user experiences and shaped broader cultural understanding of human-technology relationships. Religious and spiritual communities developed diverse responses to neural interface technology, ranging from enthusiastic embrace to cautious skepticism. Some spiritual traditions viewed neural interfaces as tools that could enhance meditation and contemplative practices, while others worried about potential interference with spiritual development or authentic religious experience. These discussions contributed to broader cultural conversations about technology's role in human flourishing. The therapeutic applications of neural gaming interfaces raised important questions about the medicalization of human experience and the boundaries between treatment and enhancement. As neural interfaces proved effective for addressing conditions like depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline, society grappled with questions about when technological intervention was appropriate and how to maintain human dignity while providing beneficial treatments. Educational philosophers examined how neural interface learning might affect intellectual development and academic formation. Some argued that direct neural learning could enhance understanding and accelerate intellectual growth, while others worried that bypassing traditional learning processes might impede the development of patience, perseverance, and other important intellectual virtues. These debates influenced educational policy and implementation strategies. The accessibility achievements of neural interface technology challenged traditional assumptions about disability and human capability. As neural interfaces enabled individuals with various physical limitations to participate fully in gaming and other activities, society began reconsidering how disability was understood and what constituted normal human function. These conversations influenced disability rights advocacy and accessibility policy development. Ethical frameworks for neural interface development and use evolved to address concerns about privacy, autonomy, and human dignity. Professional ethics organizations developed guidelines for neural interface research and implementation that balanced innovation benefits with protection of fundamental human rights. These frameworks influenced regulatory approaches and industry standards for neural interface development. The environmental philosophy implications of the interface transition reflected broader questions about sustainable technology development and responsible resource use. Some philosophers argued that the reduced material requirements of neural interfaces aligned with environmental ethics principles, while others worried about the energy costs and technological complexity of neural interface systems. These discussions contributed to sustainable technology development practices. Cross-cultural studies of neural interface adoption revealed significant variations in cultural attitudes toward human technology integration. Cultures with strong traditions of technological innovation generally showed more rapid adoption, while cultures that emphasized traditional practices and embodied experience often maintained stronger preferences for physical controllers. These cultural differences influenced international technology policy and cross-cultural understanding. The artistic and creative implications of neural interface technology sparked discussions about the nature of creativity and artistic expression. Artists using neural interfaces could create works that would be impossible with traditional tools, raising questions about whether technological enhancement expanded or diminished authentic creative expression. These debates influenced arts education and cultural funding priorities. Psychological research on neural interface use examined how the technology affected personality development, social interaction, and emotional regulation. Studies generally found that neural interface use had minimal impact on fundamental personality traits, though some users reported enhanced confidence and improved problem-solving abilities. These findings informed clinical applications and user support programs. The long-term implications of widespread neural interface adoption remained subjects of ongoing philosophical investigation and cultural discussion. Society continued to grapple with questions about how technological enhancement might affect human evolution, social relationships, and cultural development over generational timescales. These conversations influenced technology policy and shaped public understanding of the interface transition's broader significance. The successful global implementation of neural gaming interfaces required unprecedented international cooperation in developing technical infrastructure, safety standards, and support systems that could serve billions of users across diverse technological, economic, and regulatory environments. The infrastructure achievements of 2034 to 2035 represented one of the most complex technological deployment projects in human history, comparable in scope to the original development of the Internet or global telecommunications networks. The Neural Interface Communication Protocol, standardized by the International Telecommunications Union in collaboration with gaming industry organizations, created universal technical standards that ensured compatibility between different neural interface devices and gaming platforms. This standardization eliminated the fragmentation concerns that had plagued early neural interface adoption and enabled seamless global communication and competition between users of different systems. Bandwidth requirements for neural interface gaming pushed Internet infrastructure to new performance levels. Neural interfaces generated continuous streams of high-precision data that required ultra-low latency transmission for optimal gaming experiences. Internet service providers worldwide invested billions of dollars in fiber optic upgrades, edge computing infrastructure, and network optimization technologies to support neural interface gaming requirements. The Global Neural Interface Safety Network provided real-time monitoring and support for neural interface users worldwide. This system could detect unusual patterns in neural interface operation and immediately connect users with appropriate technical or medical support. The network operated continuously, providing 24/7 coverage across all time zones and supporting users in over 50 languages through automated translation and culturally appropriate support protocols. Cloud computing infrastructure evolved to support the massive computational requirements of neural interface gaming platforms. Major cloud providers like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft developed specialized neural interface computing services that could process neural signals, render gaming environments, and manage complex multi-user gaming sessions with the precision and speed required for seamless neural interface experiences. Quality of service guarantees for neural interface gaming created new categories of Internet service and network management. Internet providers offered premium neural gaming packages that provided guaranteed low latency, high bandwidth, and priority routing for neural interface traffic. These specialized services ensured that neural interface gaming remained responsive and reliable even during periods of high network congestion. The technical support infrastructure for neural interface gaming required training hundreds of thousands of support specialists worldwide. These technicians needed expertise in neuroscience, electronics, software systems, and customer service to effectively help users optimize their neural interface experiences. Certification programs and technical training institutions developed to ensure consistent support quality across different regions and service providers. Cybersecurity for neural interface systems required entirely new approaches to protecting both user privacy and system integrity. Security researchers developed encryption methods specifically designed for neural signal transmission, authentication systems that could verify user identity through neural patterns, and intrusion detection systems that could identify potential security threats in real time without compromising gaming performance. The energy infrastructure requirements for global neural interface adoption drove significant investments in renewable energy and efficient power distribution systems. Neural interface gaming platforms required substantial computational resources, and supporting billions of users created massive electricity demands. The gaming industry partnered with renewable energy providers to ensure that neural interface adoption didn't contribute to environmental degradation. Data center infrastructure evolved to support the unique requirements of neural interface gaming, including ultra-low latency processing, massive parallel computing capabilities, and redundant backup systems that could maintain service even during hardware failures. These specialized data centers were distributed globally to ensure that neural interface users could access high-quality gaming experiences regardless of their geographic location. International regulatory coordination ensured that neural interface safety standards and operational requirements were consistent across different countries and regions. The World Health Organization worked with national regulatory agencies to develop harmonized safety standards, while international trade organizations addressed import/export requirements and technical standards for neural interface devices. The financial infrastructure supporting neural interface gaming included new payment systems, insurance products, and financing options that accommodated the unique characteristics of neural interface technology. Banks developed loan products specifically for neural interface purchases, while insurance companies created policies that covered device replacement, technical support, and even potential medical issues related to neural interface use. Emergency response systems were updated to address potential issues related to neural interface use, including medical emergencies that might be related to neural interface operation and technical failures that could affect large numbers of users simultaneously. Emergency responders receive training in neural interface technology and established protocols for providing assistance to neural interface users during emergencies. The telecommunications infrastructure improvements required for neural interface gaming benefited many other applications beyond gaming. Enhanced network capacity, reduced latency, and improved reliability supported advances in telemedicine, remote education, and other applications that required high-quality real-time communication. The neural interface gaming requirements drove infrastructure improvements that benefited society broadly. Research and development infrastructure for neural interface technology included specialized laboratories, testing facilities, and research networks that enabled continued innovation and improvement in neural interface capabilities. These facilities supported both commercial development and academic research, ensuring that neural interface technology continued to advance and improve over time. Manufacturing infrastructure for neural interface production required specialized facilities, trained workers, and quality control systems that could produce devices meeting the precision and safety requirements of neural interface applications. The transition from controller manufacturing to neural interface production created new industrial capabilities and employment opportunities in high-technology manufacturing. The global logistics networks for neural interface distribution needed to accommodate the specialized shipping, storage, and handling requirements of sophisticated neural interface devices. These systems ensured that neural interfaces could be safely transported and delivered to users worldwide while maintaining the precise calibration and quality standards required for optimal performance. Technical documentation and knowledge management systems preserve the accumulated expertise and best practices related to neural interface deployment, maintenance, and optimization. These systems ensured that technical knowledge was preserved and shared globally, enabling consistent implementation and continuous improvement of neural interface systems worldwide. As we near the conclusion of our historical examination, the transformation period from 2025 to 2035 reveals itself as more than just a technological transition. It represents a fundamental evolution in how humanity relates to interactive entertainment, assistive technology, and the expanding possibilities of human-computer integration. The shift from physical controllers to neural interfaces marked not an ending, but a beginning of new forms of human expression and capability. The preservation of traditional controller gaming alongside the advancement of neural interface technology demonstrated society's capacity for managing technological change while maintaining cultural continuity. The gaming industry's approach to this transition, emphasizing choice, accessibility, and gradual adoption rather than forced obsolescence, created a model for managing future technological transformations in ways that respect human preferences while encouraging beneficial innovation. The accessibility achievements of this period represented perhaps the most significant social impact of the controller transition. Neural interfaces transformed gaming from an activity that excluded many individuals with physical limitations into truly universal entertainment that could be enjoyed by anyone regardless of their physical capabilities. This democratization of gaming access created new communities, competitive opportunities, and forms of social participation that enriched society broadly. The educational applications that emerged from gaming neural interface technology demonstrated how entertainment technologies could serve broader human development goals. The same systems that enabled faster gaming reactions and more immersive entertainment experiences also accelerated learning, enhanced therapeutic outcomes, and created new possibilities for cognitive enhancement. This convergence of entertainment and education suggested future developments where the boundaries between recreation and personal development continue to blur. The economic transformation of the gaming industry during this period illustrated how entire sectors could adapt to technological change while preserving employment and creating new opportunities. The transition from mass-produced controllers to specialized neural interfaces created new categories of skilled employment, while the preservation movement maintained traditional craftsmanship roles. This economic evolution provided models for other industries facing technological disruption. The cultural preservation efforts that emerged during the controller transition reflected deeper human needs for continuity and historical connection even amid rapid technological change. The gaming museums, collector communities, and documentation projects that preserved controller-based gaming culture demonstrated that technological progress need not require abandoning appreciation for previous achievements and traditions. The international cooperation required for global neural interface deployment showed how technological advancement could serve as a platform for enhanced collaboration between nations and cultures. The shared technical standards, safety protocols, and infrastructure investments created new forms of international partnership while respecting cultural differences in technology adoption and use preferences. The philosophical discussions sparked by neural interface adoption contributed to broader understanding of human-technology relationships and the nature of consciousness in technological contexts. These conversations influenced not just gaming development but broader policy discussions about artificial intelligence, human enhancement, and the ethical implications of emerging technologies. The research achievements during this period advanced scientific understanding of human cognition, motor control, and neuroplasticity in ways that extended far beyond gaming applications. The data collected from millions of neural interface users provided unprecedented insights into human brain function and adaptation that informed medical research, educational methodology, and cognitive science broadly. The environmental benefits achieved through the transition demonstrated how technological advancement could align with sustainability goals when approached thoughtfully. The reduced material requirements, improved energy efficiency, and comprehensive recycling programs showed that technological progress could reduce rather than increase environmental impact when guided by appropriate values and policies. Looking toward the future from our 2035 perspective, the controller transition appears as a crucial stepping stone toward more profound integration between human consciousness and digital environments. The successful management of this transition created technical capabilities, social practices, and cultural frameworks that will support even more advanced human-technology integration as it develops. The lessons learned during the controller transition influence subsequent technological developments in fields ranging from medical devices to educational technology to workplace productivity tools. The inclusive design principles, safety standards, and implementation strategies developed for gaming neural interfaces provided templates for deploying other forms of assistive and enhancement technologies. The social acceptance achieved for neural interface technology during this period created foundations for broader public understanding and acceptance of human technology integration possibilities. The positive experiences that millions of people had with gaming neural interfaces reduced anxiety and resistance to other forms of technological enhancement and assistance. The global infrastructure developed to support neural interface gaming created technical capabilities that supported many other applications requiring high-speed, low-latency communication between human consciousness and digital systems. This infrastructure investment provided platforms for innovations in remote surgery, distributed education, and other applications that required reliable human-computer interface technology. The cultural maturity demonstrated by gaming communities during this transition period, their ability to embrace innovation while respecting tradition, to support accessibility while maintaining competitive excellence, and to adapt to change while preserving valuable community practices, suggested optimistic possibilities for how human societies might manage future technological transformations. The controller transition of 2025 to 2035 ultimately represented humanity's successful navigation of a fundamental change in how we interact with digital environments, demonstrating our species' remarkable capacity for adaptation, innovation, and inclusive progress in the face of technological transformation. As I conclude this historical meditation from the perspective of 2035, sitting in the quiet of the early morning hours while neural interface users around the world engage in seamless gaming experiences that their predecessors could barely imagine, I'm struck by the profound grace with which humanity managed this technological transition. The story of the last physical controller is ultimately a story about human adaptability, creativity, and our remarkable capacity for honoring the past while embracing beneficial change. The decade from 2025 to 2035 demonstrated that technological evolution need not be disruptive or divisive when guided by principles of inclusion, accessibility, and respect for diverse human preferences. The gaming industry's approach to managing the controller transition created a template for technological change that preserved valuable traditions while opening new possibilities for human expression and capability. The physical controllers that were produced during the final years of their commercial viability represented the absolute pinnacle of tactile interface design. These devices embodied decades of accumulated knowledge about human ergonomics, precision engineering, and user experience optimization. They serve now as monuments to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of perfection in the tools we create to extend our capabilities. The neural interfaces that replaced physical controllers as the primary gaming interface technology opened possibilities that extended far beyond entertainment. The same systems that enabled faster gaming reactions and more immersive virtual experiences also restored mobility to individuals with physical limitations, accelerated educational achievement, and created new forms of human-computer collaboration that are reshaping medicine, engineering, and countless other fields. The preservation movement that emerged to maintain controller-based gaming culture reflected deep human wisdom about the importance of maintaining connections to our technological heritage. The museums, collector communities, and documentation projects that preserve controller gaming ensure that future generations will understand how their ancestors approached the fundamental challenge of translating human intention into digital action. The accessibility revolution that neural interfaces enabled represents perhaps the most significant social achievement of this entire technological transition. Gaming transformed from an activity that excluded many individuals with physical limitations into truly universal entertainment accessible to anyone regardless of their physical capabilities. This transformation created new communities, competitive opportunities, and forms of social participation that enriched human culture immeasurably. The international cooperation required for global neural interface deployment demonstrated humanity's capacity for collaborative technological development that serves shared goals while respecting cultural differences. The technical standards, safety protocols, and infrastructure investments created during this period established frameworks for beneficial technological cooperation that continue to serve humanity well. The educational applications that emerged from gaming neural interface technology suggest transformative possibilities for human learning and development. The acceleration of language acquisition, enhancement of mathematical understanding, and creation of immersive educational experiences point toward future developments where the boundaries between entertainment and education continue to dissolve in beneficial ways. The economic transformation of the gaming industry illustrated how entire sectors can adapt to technological change while preserving employment and creating new opportunities for human creativity and skill development. The transition from mass-produced controllers to specialized neural interfaces created new categories of skilled employment, while the preservation movement maintained traditional craftsmanship roles. The environmental benefits achieved through thoughtful management of the controller transition demonstrated that technological advancement can align with sustainability goals when guided by appropriate values and long-term thinking. The reduced material requirements, improved energy efficiency, and comprehensive recycling programs showed that progress can reduce rather than increase environmental impact. The philosophical discussions sparked by neural interface adoption contributed to broader human understanding of consciousness, identity, and our evolving relationship with technology. These conversations continue to influence policy discussions about artificial intelligence, human enhancement, and the ethical implications of emerging technologies that will shape humanity's future. The research achievements during this period advanced scientific understanding of human cognition, motor control, and neuroplasticity in ways that inform medical research, educational methodology, and cognitive science broadly. The data collected from millions of neural interface users provided unprecedented insights into human brain function and adaptation. As we look back on this remarkable decade of technological and social transformation, we can appreciate how the gaming community's wisdom, adaptability, and commitment to inclusive excellence created positive outcomes that seemed impossible when the transition began. The controller era ending gracefully while neural interface possibilities blossomed demonstrates humanity's capacity for managing change in ways that honor the past while embracing beneficial innovation. The story of the last physical controller is ultimately a story about human values triumphing over technological determinism. Society chose to manage this transition in ways that preserved choice, supported accessibility, maintained cultural heritage, and created opportunities for enhanced human capability. These choices reflected the best aspects of human nature and created foundations for continued beneficial technological development. In these quiet early morning hours of 2035, as neural interface users around the world engage in gaming experiences that seamlessly blend thought and action, we can rest peacefully knowing that humanity successfully navigated a fundamental technological transformation while preserving what was valuable about the past and creating new possibilities for human flourishing. The gentle hum of servers maintaining preserved gaming worlds, the soft glow of museum displays showcasing controller craftsmanship, and the quiet satisfaction of neural interface users discovering new forms of digital expression, all remind us that technological change can be managed with wisdom, grace, and respect for the full spectrum of human preferences and capabilities. If you found this journey through gaming's gentle transition meaningful, I encourage you to share your thoughts about how we might apply these lessons to future technological changes in the comments below. What aspects of the controller to neural interface transition do you think were most successful? How might these insights inform our approach to other emerging technologies that will shape human society in the coming decades? Please consider subscribing for more historical reflections on technology transitions and human adaptation to beneficial innovation. And perhaps, as you settle into rest tonight, take a moment to appreciate how far we've come in creating technologies that serve human flourishing while preserving the wisdom and beauty of what came before. Sleep well, knowing that humanity's capacity for thoughtful, inclusive progress continues to create better possibilities for all.